Okay? You can draw this on a cocktail napkin if you want, whenever you want to talk to someone. But here is a person or people, and here is God. And what God intended was to create people, to bring people into the world, so those people could live in fellowship with God, to live in union or a relationship with God. And in that relationship, there was love, there was security, there was strength. It was like life really works when you are living in an active relationship with the God who made you. But a problem developed. The problem that developed is that we as people chose to sin. We chose to do things that we knew were not right. We chose not to do things we knew were right. And by virtue of our sin, we became separated from God. Isaiah 59:2 says, our iniquities, our sins have separated us from our God. And now that we are separated from God and don't have a relationship with God, we find ourselves fearful and insecure and not knowing what our purpose is and finding ourselves being slaves to things that we know are wrong, that we wish we weren't like that, but we almost cannot help ourselves. And that's all a fact of being separated from God. And what we try to do as people, or what many people do, is they try to build a bridge to somehow get back to God. And that bridge that we try to build is called religion. Doing good deeds, trying to somehow pacify the God that we have sinned against. The problem is that no matter how hard we work on that bridge, we can never build a bridge all the way back to God. Because God is very clear, by good works nobody gets back to me. So we're separated from God by virtue of our own sinful choices. No matter how much we try to build a bridge back, we can never make it all the way. That is really bad news. Here's the good news. God sent his son, Jesus. And what Jesus did is he died on the cross. He died on the cross to atone for, to pay for every sin of every person who ever lived. And he became the bridge back to God. He became the bridge back into a relationship. He became the bridge so that we could spend forever in relationship with him. And all we have to do is make a decision to walk across that bridge. That's all we have to do. And we make the decision to walk across that bridge by trusting, by believing that Jesus is sufficient to bring us back to God. There you have it. It's not difficult. It's not complicated. It's a simple story of good news of God's original intent, human beings messing it up, them not being able to get it back on their own, God providing a way. By simple faith, we get back to God. And you might go, they might ask me questions I don't have the answers to. So? Yeah, but I don't know all the verses to plug in there. So? Sometimes you wonder, how did anybody share Jesus before about 300 years ago when they actually put verses in the Bible? The point is you share the truth. It's that simple. Cocktail napkin, little picture, boom. And the amazing thing is, Paul said, I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. The good news that we shared there in about 2 or 3 minutes. Because it is the power of God unto salvation for everyone who believes. And that simple little message, that good news, that reality about where we are and how we can get back, is what the Spirit of God uses to help bring people into a relationship with him. It's the explanation where any one of us can do it. Any one of us. Here's another lure that we could use. Let's call it the apologetic lure. Now this one is maybe a little bit more difficult yet again. But again, not really, really hard. This simply means we defend the rationality of the Christian faith. 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 15 says this. Be ready to give an answer. The Greek word is apologia. An apology, it means a rational, reasoned defense for the hope that is in you. Be ready to do that. See, friends, if Christianity is not rational, it is not real. No one should come to faith in Jesus by rejecting their mind. They come to Jesus by fully embracing their mind. Faith is not the antithesis to reason. Faith is the logical result of being reasonable. And one of our jobs is to take people who have honest intellectual questions and reservations about the Christian faith and just explain it. It's amazing how simple it is. One of the reasons that we do this from time to time here at Connections is not only help those of you that have those questions, and it's cool with us that you have them. We're glad you're here to maybe get answers, or at least things to think about. But another reason we do that is to help you be armed with answers to give to others when you converse. Just recently, I was visiting someone whose relationship with God was unclear, and they're in dire physical condition. And as we talked about a bunch of things, and then we began to talk about faith and the fear of death, and I began to talk about the simple story of how we can know where we're going to go when we pass from this life into the next, this person stopped and they said, well, wait a minute, I got to be mean for a minute. Go ahead. You have every right to be mean. Go ahead. And this person said, if God is so good and loving, why would he allow this to happen to me? I'm young, and yet I'm facing a death that could happen at any moment, and I could be separated from the people that I love. And I just want to know, why would a God who loves me do this to me and my loved ones? How'd you answer that question? I let them kind of get the whole story out. And then I simply said this. I said, you have kids, right? Several kids? Yeah, okay. I said, do you ever have to do anything to your kids that they didn't like, that they didn't understand, and they thought you were really mean for doing? Just curious, ever? And they went like, oh, yeah. I said, me too. Because when our kids are growing up and they're young, sometimes we have to say no to them, and they're like, oh, I can't believe that. I don't understand why you would say no. You hate me. Or we would have to discipline them for doing something, and when you discipline, they're like, I can't believe you're doing that. You hate me. You never let me do anything. I said, you've experienced that, right? They go, oh, yeah, absolutely. I said, me too. I said, I'm just wondering, isn't it true that the reason we do that, we do things that our kids do not understand, that they think we're mean for doing, the reason we do it is they understand things they don't? And so what we know is in the big picture, this is good, even though in the short term, they think with their limited understanding is bad. And also you could just see lights come on. I almost didn't have to say what I said next. I said, could it be that it's the same way with us and God? That there are things that happen and we don't understand it, and we think God is so mean for doing it, but actually it's God who sees a bigger picture, who knows things we do not know. That eventually, when we're with God, we will understand, and then we'll look back and go, oh, you weren't being mean. You were working something good. That was a defense, an apologia. It was defending the rationality of the Christian faith. This is one of the lures that we use to help inform